Thank you for coming here on this beautiful Saturday morning. Welcome to Bangalore's first product camp, hosted by Yahoo India R&D, supported by India Product Management Association. So just by a show of, I'm Ravi Padaki. You must be getting all the emails from me. By a show of hands, how many here have you heard of PCamp before? Very few, okay. How many of you have been to a PCamp before? Oh, excellent. How many of you have been to a bar camp before? Okay, that's looking better. Just some more questions. How many of you here belong to product management organization? There are product managers, directors, VP, about half. And from user experience design? Two, excellent. Engineering, sales, great. Anybody else? Any other title I missed out? Legal, HR. All right, so, oh, that's the product management marketing. That's the first one, product management marketing. That's a good question. I think that's probably on the agenda. So anyway, welcome. Welcome to all of you. I want to emphasize that, this PCamp is your camp, right? So it's very different from a typical conference where you would attend, go listen to a preset agenda. I think, just to kind of give you some background, it started off as a unconference movement in US, where the attendees got bored of attending conferences where the agendas were preset and just listening to commercial pitches, right? So they wanted to actually steer the agenda and set the agenda. So this is your camp. I highly encourage you to participate in this camp. Share your learnings, ask questions, tweet, and one second. That's the tweet tag. It should be at Kambela. That's a mention. And take photos and blog about it. If you have any blogs after this event, please email them to kgaurav@yahoo-inc.com with the subject line PCamp blog. So now I would like to turn it over to Gaurav Kamdar for some housekeeping announcements.
Thanks, Ravi. Good morning, everyone. Just a few announcements. First up, coffee, tea, it's on the house. You can just go to one of our food truck shops and we have everything labeled for you. So it's easy access. The rest of them, you will see the signages. And lunch will be served at counter A right here. And we have 2 water dispensers on both sides and 1 behind. So please feel free to access them. Beanbags are your seats as you have kind of caught on with the concept. Please display your badges at all times. It's just a security measure. It helps people to track everyone. And we have 2 fire exits right there. So you can follow the signs or just follow someone who's a Yahoo. That's the cool way to do it. And yeah, we have a fishbowl at the registration counter. Please drop your business cards. So we have a raffle at the end of the day. Thank you and have a great PCamp. Handing over to you, Ravi.
Awesome. Thank you, Gaurav. I'd like to now introduce Bala Girzabella, who's the director of Yahoo Entrepreneurship Network and the guiding force behind this PCamp. Bala.
Hey, thanks a lot for coming on a Saturday morning. I know it's tough, and I was late. I slept very late earlier yesterday evening, being Friday night. So it was. I can totally sympathize with you. But just to show, so many people, you guys have turned up here. This is just a demonstration of the fact how passionate and interested and the kind of energy which is there today to kind of do something like this. So cheers to all of you. I think you guys are making this a huge success, and this is a movement, in my opinion. What we are seeing here, we would love to see more of this, and even more of this, because it's just a beginning, in my opinion. Like, many of you guys have showed up your hands and said you've been to a bar camp, but, obviously there is one reason why very few hands actually went up when you said PCamp. Guess what? Why? There you go. So this is the first one. And I keep wondering, when the bar camps, so many bar camps happen around us, but there's only not PCamp haven't happened. And when you think about it, actually, 3 years back, I was actually contemplating on that, and I thought, Why? And then you see that about 3 years back, if we were to have conducted a P camp, I think even fewer of you would have shown up because you wouldn't have existed, meaning in the function. Obviously you lived, but not in the function that we are talking about, right? A product management and product marketing as a function 3 years before, 5 years before were simply non-existent. Today there's a critical mass. More than a critical mass, because I think what we see here is more than a critical mass. And that's a proof. That's a proof of the kind of energy, both entrepreneurial energy as well as innovation energy which is around us. And that's exactly why it is a responsibility of a brand like Yahoo to support and promote this energy. And this is one of the reasons why we are doing it. It behooves on all the big companies to create a community, help and support the community to grow this energy. And what I mean by that, you showed up here obviously for different reasons, but I can tell you, you showed up here because you want to know what's going on, you want to connect with folks, you want to know others, you want to learn, you want to share your learning, and there are so many things, and that can't happen without forums like this. And we love to do this. You will see more of these forums. That's my promise to you. We started off earlier this year around July timeframe with a fantastic program called Open Hack Day. I don't know, some of you might have heard about it, some of you might have participated in it. There was also an innovation conference associated with that. And we got predominantly the feedback that we need more of this, we need more of this. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the hack tech as a concept. It's not the bad hack kind of thing, it's a good hack kind of thing where about 1,300 folks turned up from about 23 states of India and plus 3 different nations outside. They just turned up on Bangalore. At Bangalore, we had this at Taj Residency near MG Road on a very cold Saturday morning. It was not very cold, I'm just making it up, but on a Saturday morning, 6 o'clock, we were there. And I can't believe people just came in droves, like 50, 60 of them in batches. And I said, 6 o'clock, why would you come at 6 o'clock? That's because they were coming from Chennai. And they just got off the bus, straight from the bus. They took a rick and then they came to the venue. And there were like beanbags, 1,000 beanbags there. And they were like, just sitting on the beanbags. And what were they doing? And the concept of Open Hack Day, just for the some of you who may not know about it, is that in 24 hours time, there was a clock which actually counts down. And that's a 24-hour timer. It starts at 12 in the afternoon of Saturday. And they form teams. Right? They come up with ideas. Some of them don't even have ideas. They just turn up like that. And it's just the kind of, jamming energy. Like, just turn up, you find your partner, maybe you already have a friend, you just come form teams, and then think about some great cool idea that you want to hack. That's the part of the hack, where hack is kind of doing things in very short time. Right? They bring in their own laptops, we provide them Wi-Fi connectivity, take care of food and everything. They are like, they didn't leave the place. 24 hours. It starts on Saturday afternoon, 12 o'clock, and people start coding, right? And they were visual designers, they were coders, they were architects, they were database guys, they were API guys. They were just putting it together, right? And it went on till Sunday afternoon, 12 o'clock. It stopped, the clock stopped at Sunday afternoon, 12 o'clock. And guess what? And at 1 o'clock, we did the demos. I mean, not only you do code, but you also have to show your stuff. And there is like, competition. And then, there are like top 5, top 10 kind of thing. We, give out prizes and all that. They are in it for that. Guess how many ideas came out of that? Guess how many demonstrations came out of that? 120. 120 teams went up on stage and showed some cool stuff they did in just 24 hours time. Right? Isn't that amazing? We were really, really surprised. And this was not organized. It's not like, we call them and say, hey, did you think about your idea? No, they just turned up. They just turned up, self-organized themselves, came up with wacky ideas. Some of them actually didn't like their ideas by 12 o'clock in the night, and then they went back to the drawing boards. We had all this drawing, boards there where they could go and draw up and discuss and all that stuff. And then they changed their idea. None of them slept. At 2 in the morning, and Gaurav was there, right there. At 2 in the morning, people were playing foosballs, they were dancing, they were sitting and, discussing about, whether we should use this API or that API. I mean, it was fantastic energy. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because we should have something like that for product management. Because, product innovators, right? We should be coming up with 100 such ideas. We should be coming up with 200 such ideas. We should be coming up with 500 such ideas. 5 years ago, the number of startups in Bangalore, or not just Bangalore, India, let me say that, were very few. Today, there are about 600 plus startups. And we have few gentlemen in the room today who are going to speak with you. They are also doing a lot to help that movement in terms of creating innovation and entrepreneurial energy. And we would just want to help in doing that. We want you guys to participate because finally the only ingredient which makes it successful is you. Right? All other things are just a support and help. So hopefully you guys will enjoy a lot. But this is just a segue into what type of innovation is happening in India today, right? And you would be startled to see the kind of companies which are coming out of India today, which are kicking ass. I'm sorry, pardon my French, but it's Saturday, so hopefully it's okay. They are really kicking ass in global markets, right? So there are really no barriers. The only barrier you have today is your mental barrier, right? Now, how can we shift this? How can we shift this and remove those mental barriers? And one of the leaders at Yahoo, who has been doing this for many years, Amit Dayal, he's the vice president, and he has delivered many, many global products out of Bangalore office. You would be really surprised about that. So he's going to share some of his experience and what he thinks about innovation and how we can take it to the next level. Frankly, the world expects a lot more out of us, and I think we have it in us to give that. So with that, I introduce Amit. Amit, thank you for coming today.
Thanks, Bala. Hi, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Like Bala said, this is amazing. When Bala told me that 300 people had signed up to come here on a weekend, I was like, really? Wow, this is amazing. I mean, I think Bangalore, this is, real evidence that Bangalore is becoming a product hub. More than anything else, more than the tech parks, you see BTP and EGL. To me, this is really the sign that we are sort of arriving, if not arrived. I was just, as an aside, I was reading this article by Paul Graham, which talked about, what makes Silicon Valley, like a lot of people have gone to the Valley and tried to understand, like, what is it about the Silicon Valley and how do we replicate it across the world, right? And is it the universities? Is it the weather? Is it is it Intel? What was it which caused it to become like the place where all, so many products come out? And his theory was that it's really two things. If you can get nerds and rich people in the same place, that's what makes Silicon Valley. So if you can attract all the nerds, and so the Open Hack Day, I think we had 1,000 nerds show up, and we of course have the rich, the VCs with lots of money sitting around. I think that the piece which he missed, which I would add to it, would be the product management. I think it's the nerds, the VCs, and the product managers. If you can get all of those together, so I think the P Camp and the Open Hack and I guess the investor conference all together is really what will create the next valley. And I think Bangalore, I would argue, is outside Silicon Valley probably the next potential place where the next big products are going to come out. Right? I think we have all the elements here. Some background on on me. I joined Yahoo 5 years ago. I run engineering for our search and marketplace BU, and as Bala was saying, things have evolved a lot in the last 5 years. When I first came to Yahoo, Yahoo Bangalore was, and this is the reason I'm giving examples from Yahoo is because I know Yahoo best, but I think this is happening. You guys have all seen this in your company, so this is really not just a Yahoo pitch. We were like an execution company. We were expected to, all the strategy was done in headquarters. Initially, all product managers were in Sunnyvale. We had engineering here. And then we started hiring the first product managers. They were expected to be shadow product managers. So they weren't even doing, they weren't driving the product. They were basically supposed to sort of liaison with the people in the headquarters and translate things for the engineers here. That was the way the world looked like. And I think that was true in Bangalore. Since then, we have come a long ways. We have over probably 70 product managers here. We have user designers. We have a lab. And my BU, the head of product management and the head of engineering for this global BU, which is all search and marketplaces, is in Bangalore. So we have the two VPs sitting here driving Yahoo Shopping, Yahoo Autos, Yahoo Search, Yahoo Small Business sitting out of Bangalore. So that to me is is an example of how far we have come and the trust and the faith the world has in India right now, that we can actually drive stuff from here. The other thing about, to give some background, I started my life as an engineer, moved to product management in the Silicon Valley. I spent most of my time in very early stage startups doing product management, came to Yahoo, and then I do engineering. So I think that's the other background which I bring, is that you can actually, these roles can go back and forth. So you're not really stuck in, a product manager can move into engineering and an engineering can move into, and I think in this world, we have to be sort of Renaissance people. We can't afford to be very siloed about what we do, because it takes, all of us together and all these skills to really do what we do. So coming back to the India, I think what we are seeing is that the expectation from us in India has gone up a lot. Yahoo and, I think the investors and the community expects us to now be innovating and inventing and driving the business. So we have this huge expectation. So when all these years we said, look, give us the opportunity, give us the funding, let's build all these things, and we can drive products. And now the time has come, right? So we have to, break those mental barriers like Bala was saying. And really, I think the time has come for us. There's no more, it's not like next year, it's not 2 years from now. We have to step up and start thinking like true product people. And at the Open Hack Day, we had this separate event going on where there was a panel with a bunch of entrepreneurs on the panel. And I was amazed to see the confidence of some of the people in the panel. We had these people running startups which started out in India. And these people had so much, these young entrepreneurs. And they said, look, if we can conquer India, if we can do well in India, we can take on any market. So we are expanding into Southeast Asia, we're expanding into Africa, we're even expanding into the US. So I think that's another sign of the times, that Indian entrepreneurship and our ability to now go and do global products is completely here. So in our case in Yahoo, we have full ownership right now out here for a bunch of products in the marketplaces. All of it is driven out of here. We also do a bunch of products for emerging markets, like we did Yahoo Cricket, which was completely designed, product managed, engineered out of this office, and it became the #1 cricket product in India. It beat Cricinfo in the number of users. Recently we built this product called OMG, which is like an entertainment gossip site. We built the stuff, launched it in Indonesia, we're launching it in India, and going to the Middle East. And it became the #1 property in Indonesia. So you can actually sit here in Bangalore and design products for other markets and actually become world beaters. We can actually build products. So we have proven that we can actually design products here, which can be launched in other markets and actually be winning products there. So I think it's really right now up to us to start really thinking of ourselves as people who don't have to, build stuff which has been built, who can take the risks, who can actually go off and think globally, right? The other thing which I just quickly wanted to chat about was, from my experiences in the past, the importance of product management. I mean, one of the things which sometimes we forget is, how much of a difference it makes in a company. So just a story, like early on when I was sort of switching over, I was an engineer, switching over to product management, this is like 15 years ago. I went down to Silicon Valley, and there were two companies I was trying to choose between. There was a startup in the internet space. This is the early days of e-commerce. This was like 95. And the guys behind that company were some of the two guys so the chief technologists were early day people at Oracle. They had written the Oracle kernel. They were like, the real gurus in technology. The whole engineering team was out of Carnegie Mellon, so they're the smartest engineers you can imagine, right? And they were doing early day e-commerce. They were building internet malls. So this was like the hottest space you could imagine. So I was trying to decide between this company and this other company, which had 3 people who were sort of leaving Unisys. They really didn't have these fancy credentials. They were sort of in this dull space of information extraction, right? And I was trying to decide which company to take. And so I spoke to people and spoke to friends, and they said, oh, you've got to join this company. It's e-commerce, it's the internet. And, these are the smartest people you can imagine, the smartest technologists you can imagine. So I joined this company, which sort of remains unnamed. And turns out when I joined this company, there were a few things. One was like this company was completely technology driven. So they were writing their own network protocols. They were writing their own shell languages. They were almost sort of inventing Java over C before Java came. And so this company had very strong technologists, very weak product management. And the technologists, the chief architect had all the power in the company. So they were basically pursuing cool technology products. So we would sort of build like really, really fancy stuff. And finally, the company sort of launched a product. We did a Time Warner Mall. The company actually managed to go public. But 3 months later, the stock was like below $1, right? Because they could never, first of all, the product was like slow because they had so many layers of stuff because the technologists had built layers after layers after layers. Nobody was really concerned about, what do users really want and what is enough because they just kept building stuff. And so it took like a year and a half to get things out. And so I actually lost, I bought whatever ESPP I'd bought was actually worth nothing. I actually lost money in the whole thing. So much about joining startups to make money, right? Whereas this other company, which was these three people who you looked and said, like, what, they don't have a chance, right? And guess what that company became? It was Informatica, right? So these were three guys who were sort of like, but they were focused. They were not chasing any fancy spaces. They hadn't drunk the internet Kool-Aid, right? They stuck with a few customers, they built something out, and then they went from there, right? So to me, that was like, after that, I think the lesson I learned was don't go by appearances, don't go by fancy degrees, right? Don't go by who the VCs are. Really, I think the thing to look for is don't go by the space. Like right now, social is hot or mobile is hot. It doesn't really matter. I think what matters is this company committed to solving real customer problems? And who else but a strong product manager can bring that into this company? So that's, if there's any doubt about why do we need product managers, to me at least that sort of put it to rest, right? So just on the same theme, I want to talk a little bit about, what makes good, now being on the other side of in engineering and also, through the lessons I've learned in product management, one thing which you realize is that when you go to business school, you become a product manager, you say, well, let me go to business school and maybe that'll teach me how to be a product manager. And actually after spending like 10, 15 years in all the battle scars, you realize that actually the really important things are not taught in business school. You learn about positioning and strategy and accounting and the 3 Ps and all of that stuff. But to me, ultimately, if I look at what leads to really great products, I would call out maybe 2 or 3 things. 3 things maybe. The first is, like I said, this obsession about user needs, right? Even at Yahoo, many times we get so confused about, oh, should we worry about monetization here? How are we making money? If we do this for the user, are we going to get less page views? Are we in the right space? By doing this, are we getting away from what's hot right now? But it doesn't really matter. I think the number one thing which I would say as a product manager, you guys have to really focus on is solve the user's problems. Focus as much as you can on, know who that user is. If you can actually visualize that person and name that person and say, my user is this person who graduated from college 2 years ago and has a job and drives a motorcycle, and I really, I'm going to solve this problem for them, and that's all I care about, I think you'd be good. But if you start trying to solve the world's problems and also trying to be like, influenced by what's out there and what's the right space, you're getting distracted, right? So I think that, if nothing else, I would say, if you take away, is be obsessed about the user needs. The other thing is, I think you as a product manager, you cannot do this by yourself, right? Ultimately, you have to get the designer and the engineers and the QE people, everybody in that team behind you. And so your number 2, I think your job, as much as user obsession, is giving your team and giving your team a purpose, right? If you look at the sort of the Steve Jobs, I think you can't have a chat about product management or probably without talking about Steve Jobs, who's sort of done this again and again. I was reading about when you look at how he inspired people, even with an iPod, you would think, iPod, you don't need to inspire people. with iPod, the inspiration was about this generation has lost touch with music, and we want to get music back into people's lives with all the distractions they have, right? So the cause of, if you're working on the iPod team, the reason you're working on the iPod team is because you're going to make a difference in people's life by bringing music back into their lives, right? So first of all, it's a higher purpose than I want my product to become the number one in UUs this year, right? You're really trying to make a difference. And I think in most of us working in the tech industry, it's not that hard to sort of connect the dots into something bigger than what you're trying to do from a sort of 12-month perspective. And if you can actually convey that to each and every engineer and to each and every designer on your team about what are you trying to do and what does success mean and what is the overall mission which they are, I think it happens so rarely that you would think that this is something, obvious and we're sort of doing it, but we don't, right? And so most of the time, basically, somebody writes down the PRD and the engineers sort of have no clue why the hell they're doing this. All they're sort of worried about is this interesting for me to do? Am I learning new stuff? And am I going to become more marketable? And that's how most of the industry functions, right? And it's a total waste, right? In terms of like what these people are. Most of them are using 30% of their abilities and their talents and their passions if you operate that way, right? And I think the last thing I would say is, I think it's all about a journey where you have to sign on to the sort of this pursuit of excellence, right? I mean, product management is not a profession which you sort of say, okay, it's over. I mean, all of us, like 10 years ago, what we used to do, there's so many new learnings. I mean, the world is moving faster and faster, and there's new techniques for prototyping and hacking, and how you get ideas through, and how do you test them, and how do you make things simple for users. So that commitment to really say that I'm going to be always looking to make my product better, and I'm going to be passionate about my product and the excellence in the product. I think if you take these three things, if you're obsessed about user needs, you can find a purpose and get the whole team on the same page about what is that purpose, and not treat people as like, oh, this guy's an engineer, he's not going to get it, so let's just give him the specs, and he's going to go build it. And thirdly, make it about that I'm going to keep getting my product better and better, and I'm going to pay attention to every little detail, and not just sort of put things over because it's good enough. I think if we do that, to me, that is really, if we do this in Bangalore and we start doing this in each of the companies we're in, whether you're in a startup or in a large company, we will start seeing products come out of here which will people start taking notice, right? I mean, that's really, to me personally, what really separates people who are building something which is moving the needle or not, right? So I think that's all I had. So we can do Q&A.
So, a couple of very basic questions, right? So, product management, as you said, is a separate organization or is more aligned to marketing. So, any reason why this is hosted by Yahoo R&D? And so, what exactly happens, right? What is it? What do we have as takeaways? End of the session. What is the expectation? And why is Yahoo doing this generally?
So I think a couple of questions. Why is Yahoo R&D? So Yahoo R&D is probably a misnomer. This is a full product organization here. This is not just an R&D organization. This is a Yahoo products organization. Our charter here is to completely build, have end-to-end product development capabilities here. So we are building up huge product management capabilities, user design capabilities, engineering capabilities, and research. We have a Yahoo Labs here. So we are a full organization here. So we are very interested in, all the disciplines here, right? Second question is, why are we doing this? And as Bala said, I think it's first of all, we want to give back to this community. I think it's very important for us that we have that first of all, we change the mindset of Bangalore and India from being a sort of a development outsourcing type thing to being a product development hub, right? It's good for all of us because we want this to be a place which is known that great products come out of this place. And you do product thinking, you have business impact by having products be out of Bangalore. So we want to, grow the talent. Product management was 3 years ago a non-existent talent. We want to build an ecosystem around our products. So we are very interested in having great startups come up around us. And thirdly, we also want to sort of be the catalyst so that we can change I think we also want this to become the next Silicon Valley. Bala, do you want to add something else?
I'll just give an example, just to kind of say why. Because a lot of people ask me that there's got to be something in it for Yahoo, so otherwise you wouldn't do it. I think that's probably the basis for your question. So I'll just answer to that. A lot of people ask me, by the way, on this, and I tell them no. There is I don't see anything coming in this quarter, or I don't see anything coming in this year, and I have no idea because none of you guys have signed up saying you'll give something back to Yahoo. And frankly, that's not what it is. I'll just give you one example, and this is a non-tech example, which will probably drive the point home. And we still don't get it here, but in the US and in the Valley, people get it, right? They don't ask this question, and this is the reason. P&G has a research organization. How many of you guys know that, right? They do fundamental research. They invent molecules, which will go into your shampoos, into your toothpaste, into your soaps, and all this kind of stuff. And if you have dandruff, they have some molecule for that. If you have this, and they have molecule for that, hair falling, another molecule. I mean, they're a fantastic research organization. And they were really not producing good amount of output. Nothing great is coming out of that. I mean, obviously they're doing a good job. But then they realize, ultimately, that as one company, there's only so much you can do. How much ever you put in and start innovating or inventing. Correct? There's going to be tons of other guys across the world who's going to be thinking about the same problem in different ways, and they'll come up with much better, ingenious solution than what you can hold it within the four walls of P&G. Right? So they realize that. One is we can produce research. Obviously, we do need to commit and do it. So we will develop innovation internally. But there is this whole world out there which is also doing great stuff. And we are missing the boat, completely missing the boat by not participating in that or not influencing them or not involving ourselves in that. You know then what they did? They did a very simple thing. I forget the name of the gentleman, but the P&G CEO said, I want my research organization to get 50% of their research component to come from outside. I mean, this is a very wacky statement because you're paying salary for these guys to invent, right? Now, all of a sudden, you're turning around it and saying 50% of the output that you get should not be yours. Then the first question, like you asked, is that why are you paying salary to me, right? But you look at the short-sightedness of that. Today, P&G gets more than 50% of their research component or the ideas or the technology coming from outside. You know what has changed in them? Their R&D has become a lot more open. They go out all the way to Asia. They have set up an Asia office. I think it's in Singapore as well as in India, where they scout for technologies outside of P&G in the related field, maybe in a competing field. And they involve, they participate, they help that ecosystem to grow. And before you realize, as the sum of the parts is bigger than the individual parts put together. Right? And this is what we call as the ecosystem. And most of the Silicon Valley, the aura that we have seen has come out of this. Because there's a famed example that you can walk into any Starbucks coffee shop in Silicon Valley and you can bump into 10, VCs there, right? I mean, maybe one of them will write a check at the end of the coffee. How would that happen? Because it's just this kind of, ecosystem that is built around. People meet each other, talk to each other, share ideas without actually having to worry about, oh my God, what is in it for you? What is in it for me? I have seen people writing checks without even expecting anything to come out of it. Say what? Sounds like a great idea. You look like an honest man. Here is a check, right? Now, what is that culture? I mean, is it stupid to give that check? Or, you have to think about it. And fundamentally, what you're trying to do is to lower the barriers of people communicating with each other, because by sharing ideas, not just to Yahoo and you, but I'm saying sharing ideas among yourself, you become more wealthier, not less. Right? And that's the power of networking, getting together, sharing ideas, finding things. And I would be more than happy if three of you 1 year later down, send me or Ravi or Gaurav an email saying, you know what, from that P camp, we have started a startup. Go make $1 million. No problem. Make sense?
I thought what you were going to say is that a year from now, if you send him a check, he'll be more than happy.
I will come for the party. I will come for the party.
Hey, hi. Hi.
Yeah.
I have two questions. First one, you mentioned you have done product management at both small companies and startups, as well as now you are in an established company for one. So what is the fundamental difference you see in terms of product management? What are the different challenges you have? So that's the first question.
Okay.
I'm just giving the second question. Maybe it's not taking the time. And this is open topic. The question is, everyone is talking about innovation here, and is innovation a product manager's job? The reason why I'm asking, I'm coming from school where I think it is, but I have heard from a very senior person in my company which says, you are a product manager, not a business development manager.
Okay. All right, I'll take a stab, and Bala, feel free to, I think, chime in. So on the first question, the fundamental difference is that when you do an early stage startup, right, and you probably, there's this book called 4 Steps to Epiphany. If you haven't got it, it's a good book to read. I think the sole difference between, in a large company, you already have a proven product and a proven business model. You know who your customers are. And for most of the products, established products, it's about how do you take it to the next level? How do you grow it to be twice the size? But you already sort of have a good sense of who this product is for and what does it do, right? When you start a company, when you're working in an early stage company, like when I would go into a company, like in the early days, I was doing this thing on web services and just starting out, you have really no idea of ultimately what will be your, you started with some sense of what you're going after, but you still have to prove who's going to be your customer, what will they pay for, which application is really going to stick. So it's really a process of discovery. And in the first 6 months, you might start with an idea, you go after customers, you find out that, really what you thought was your main value proposition is not what people really want. And then you have to course correct. And sometimes something which you thought was a second order thing. In our case, one of the companies I did, which I started, we were building software for these exchanges. Like back in 2000, there were all these B2B exchanges, and our whole value proposition was to sort of integrate these exchanges together. We started the company, and the whole exchange market crashed, right? It all went away. And so we had to figure out what is the value we had, and we had to course correct, and we changed direction completely. So that's a very different world, right? Where in one case, you're really going out, the founders are playing a big role in figuring out what the value proposition is. Whereas in Yahoo, while we do have internal startups, we have similar things going on even within Yahoo. It's also a lot harder to do it in a startup because you don't have a brand name. You have people. You have to basically beg and plead for people to give you the time of the day. The difference in a larger company, which is the good and the bad, is if you're doing a startup in a large company, you don't have that problem. People want to talk to you. Your brand carries you a lot, so it's also a lot easier. On the other hand, in a larger company, most of the mind share goes towards established products, so it's a little harder to do a startup. So there's pros and cons in that. So on the second question about the innovation, I think it's not just a product manager's job. It's not business development jobs either. So this is what I was, I think, trying to say in my opening remarks, is that really innovation will come from anywhere, right? I mean, the ideas will come from anywhere. Many times, actually, the best ideas might come from the engineers or the designers and not the product managers. But I think the product manager has a key role in the end because they have to make sure that that idea, which is the invention, becomes a product. And that's the role they play, which is like how do you productize it, and who do you take it to, and how do you make sure that you are making the trade-off between time to market and what the features are. So the product manager, of course, is the stakeholder, but they are not the only sort of the monopoly on ideas.
Yes. We need some innovation in the mics. Press it until it turns green.
Hello? Yeah, this question is regarding Yahoo's effort to give back something to the community. I have used Yahoo hosting, and it's really good. But from being able for a startup, being able to scale itself, if you had something like a cloud infrastructure which the developers can use, which would be free to start, something like Google Cloud, which would eventually attract a lot of developer community to use your APIs as well as use your hosting, and then being able to monetize it later. That would be really helpful. I'm not sure if Yahoo has got a cloud of its own, which is giving it like Amazon or Google.
Yeah, we don't have the EC2 like cloud. So Yahoo does provide a bunch of services, but we are not yet providing the full, the cloud infrastructure. But we do provide, as you know, we provide the Hadoop grid, which is used by a bunch of startups which are trying to crunch lots of data. We also have APIs, like our open APIs around, Flickr and Mail and a bunch of our products. And of course, the web hosting allows you to, it won't let you do sort of very heavy duty sites, but it'll provide site builder tools and things like that. We would love to do that, but we also as a company have to focus on certain areas. So right now, we are, there's a bunch of areas which we have a strategy. Recently, we put together a strategy document. We have identified areas which we really want to go, do a great job at. And that's what we are going down, because one of the problems with Yahoo in the past was that we had so many different areas. We are competing with so many different companies that it was hard for us to do a great job in everything we do. So.
Yeah, one of the key things that you're talking about is kind of sensing what the real need is in the market. And as a product manager, when you actually think about a product actually solving a real problem, one of the major things is what you perceive the problem is and what it actually solves. Like YouTube started out as a dating site, okay, and what it actually solved is a different problem. Now, as someone who's conceptualized such a product, how easy is it to be flexible to be able to change to the actual need? Have you ever had any encounter like that in your personal thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the example I mentioned earlier in my personal life, where we had to change from being software for building exchanges to becoming more of a technology provider, is an example. And for us, it was in the old days of sort of enterprise software and shipping software, it was much harder. Course correcting in the middle of, and especially when you're in a startup and you have money which is burning down, you've hired people and, the payroll goes on. It's very hard, right? Which is why the recommendation when you're doing a startup is to do a lot of, not grow your team and start really executing and scaling up till you have figured this out. So I think one should sort of almost go into a startup or any new thing assuming that you will be changing what you're doing. That, you sort of starts with something, you test it, you put it out, and if you find that that it's really not the need which you thought existed is not really that big, you can turn with the especially in the web world today, it's very easy to, it's not expensive to try out things and change. But if you sort of don't do the testing early on and you build up a team and you hire salespeople and now they have a quota to meet and then you figure out, oh my God, this is not selling, then it becomes really hard. And then it's the whole company is stressed out because your money's running out while you're trying to figure out what to do. So I think it's a safe assumption going in to assume that it'll take you a few iterations to really figure out what ultimately you're going to do.
Excuse me, I have one question. So good morning. Sure. And this question is related to the previous one, I think, but again, are there any plans for Yahoo that where you want to encourage or motivate the startups where they have a killing idea and where you can provide a kind of facility or kind of incubation that you want to give it?
So let me give it, actually this is Bala's territory, so I'll let you.
Sure. So we have a bunch of programs in which we connect with startups and help them in multiple ways. Not all startups need the kind of thing that you're talking about. Some of them need technology advisory. Some of them need maybe a market access. Some of them maybe money, funds. So we do help them in multiple ways. So, if we are also looking for folks with whom we can partner. Obviously, if you've got any idea, or you have a startup and you're working on some great idea and you need some help in any form, please do reach out. Please do reach out. I think one thing I would definitely like to. This is probably not natural to us. I think I'm just going a little one step further from your question. It's not quite natural to us. I mean, I do keep meeting a lot of startups on a daily basis, and one of the things I do see is that there is a little bit of hesitation to share what they do because they think that, oh my God, the guy next to me is going to steal my idea, or he's going to just, tomorrow do the same thing, and then or there's also huge hesitation to kind of broach it with larger companies. Oh my God, these guys are much bigger, so will they come and kill you? You really think? You think we are that smart? So I'll tell you what. See, any startup requires tremendous focus and attention and digging your heels in. If you understand that term, it requires that. No idea is simple. Ideas are dime a dozen. If you have thought about an idea, I can bet there is like 10 other folks who have thought about the same idea. I can bet there is no new ideas in this world. There's only discovery of some insights. And that discovery of insight obviously does not come by sitting on a beanbag, right? You got to be like roughing it out, right? So I would really say this, right? That share as much as your idea. Why? I'll give you some of the reasons why you should share. Number one, if somebody else has tried it, they will prevent you from failing, okay? Otherwise, you would have gone down a path and burnt your energy, money, and all that, only to learn that somebody has already did it. Right? By keeping it to yourself, obviously you're not getting that wisdom. Share with as many people as possible. Companies and products succeed only because of the bullish and ardent dedication and effort, hard work. Not because I've got a brilliant idea and that's why I succeeded. Nobody succeeded that way. Take it from me. Number two reason why you should share is people help you refine it or grow it or make it even bigger than what you thought. Right? Reason number three you should share is you will find a lot of folks with whom you can partner, including large companies. Large companies no company can execute in 100 different ideas. No company can. Like exactly what Amit said, to the question on the hosting. We are picking our battles. We pick our battles, we go down a path, we put all our eggs in that, or few areas, and then focus. Similarly, there are adjacent areas of the market where we will not going to be focused. And what do we do in those markets? We would look for partners, right? And believe me, the markets are so many, the opportunities are so many, there is enough things around for everybody. So even among yourselves, feel free to share your ideas, feel free to approach big companies and say, this is what I'm dedicated to, I'm going to put my skin in the game in this, I need help in this manner, and believe me, you will get a ton of help. I'm not talking just from Yahoo, but every one of you will get help from everybody else. I know, Harsha is sitting here. He's one of the founders of the Head Start Ventures, and he would help too. So, share your ideas and be open. Yep. Sorry, long answer.
Any other questions? Probably last question, maybe, right? Maybe if you're running out of time.
Last question, yes.
Yeah. How much time do you think a product manager? I don't need a mic.
So that others can hear you.
I'm sure I'm audible. I'm pretty loud.
It's for the video.
Oh, perfect. Okay, lovely. I just wanted to know from you folks how much time should a product manager spend with his engineering team, his marketing team, and with his customer? I mean, what kind of a percentage do you feel he should spend time in these three areas, which I feel are important? The other thing is, should a product manager be responsible for the number in terms of, $1 million, $2 million, this product should get this much? Should it be only his responsibility, or, he doesn't really care about it?
So I'll take a stab, and Bala, you can fill in. So on the first question, I don't know if there's any. I think the most, of course, the most important thing is spending time with the customer. So whether that's 40% of the time. I mean, I would say they have to spend a significant percent of the time testing their ideas, being in looking at observing users, doing all that stuff. But the remaining time, I think, we follow at Yahoo mostly the agile process, the Scrum process. And so the product manager is constantly, they basically sit together, they are in stand-ups together. So it's really daily conversation, right? So the more they're sort of mixing together and acting as one team. So it's really not that the product management sort of says, okay, this is my once a week I go talk. They really should be sort of tightly integrated together. The second question about the carrier number, they should absolutely have a scorecard. And what we do is we have shared responsibility between sales or business development and product for the numbers. So the numbers are both revenue and other metrics. And so we don't have sales be the only people who own the number and the product, because otherwise you have a disconnect, because the product doesn't care about, they only care about engagement and sales cares about revenue. So it's really, I think, the best thing I would say is if all the teams, the engineers, the designers, the product managers, and the sales had shared metrics which they're trying to hit. Because especially when you get into a large company, that's the one way to keep everybody marching on the same path. Otherwise, they all tend to get siloed.
So I think that's a fantastic question to get to the breakouts. We have a great line of breakouts, and I think we will go in much more detail into questions like this. And there was a question around what should a product management do and stuff like that. And that's all this whole day is all about. So please feel free to ask as many questions. I thank Amit. Big hand for Amit. Thank you, Amit. Thank you. So I pass on the mic to Anand. He's the timekeeper. He's going to keep all of us honest on the time. And make sure you get home, not later. But before that, few words about the sessions.
Hey, thank you, Bala. And thanks to Bala also to explain what PCamp is all about. And as Ravi also mentioned earlier, PCamp is what you drive. And we have 3 breakout sessions. There are definitely a lot of topics of interest to a product manager. So we decided to stick 3 topics for the morning agenda, where the first track 1 will be focusing on innovation. Track 2 will be focusing on carriers and how you can improve. And track 3 will be on product design. So we'll have the track 1 to the right of me, the left of you, and track 2 will be outside at the registration, near the registration counter, and track 3 would be to the right of you in here. So let me just give you a snapshot of what these tracks are. So in innovation, the session 1, which will start immediately, will last from 10:30 to 11:30. And that'll be, the track 1 will be given by Sunil Maheshwari. He's the CEO of Mango Technologies. We'll be talking about product management and innovations in startups. And track 2, which would focus on carriers, would be talking about what they look at for hiring in terms of what are the 10 key traits for an ideal product manager that the director or a VP of product management is looking at so that he can hire you. And track 3, which will be on the product design, there are 7 takeaways from the product design. So those are the session 1. The session 2 is by Harsha Mutt, who's a venture capitalist, and he will be talking about deriving success through innovations. So his experience, he will be sharing with us his experiences on these. So and track 2 would be from Raghavendra Prasad, who is an ex-Honeywell exec, and he will be talking about the practical tips for a high-performance product manager and how you can improve your product management aspect. And finally, and again, session 2 on track 3 would be Supreet Singh, who will be talking about designing for video experiences, again, in product design. So you can pick and choose which session you actually, for which track you want to follow in each of those sessions. Request you to, carry your bean bags to whichever tracks that you want to go and attend. And we'll reconvene back at 12:30. We have some announcements because the morning agenda is fixed, but the afternoon agenda is based on your user, the input. So it's your voice that we want to listen to. We already have a bunch of topics that were out in the user voice. So and those will be actually posted and we'll tell about the voting as well. So you can actually vote for it. We were actually given 2 sticky notes, so you can vote for your favorite topics, and based on the response, we'll decide which are the topics that will be able to come out in the afternoon session. So as we said, it's a great way to hear what you want to listen to. So let's break out now for the sessions. So again, track 1 to your left, track 2 is outside, and track 3 is on your right.